Good evening, students. Welcome to the session. So, in the last class, we were discussing about TDS. We have done till 194M. Yes or no? So, can anybody revise the sections that we have done so far?
194C TDS for contracts. Any person, individual HUF, AOP or BOI, if the turnover is greater than 1 CR in business or greater than 50 lakhs for a profession, to any resident at the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier, at the rate of 1% for individual or HUF and 2% for others. Threshold limit is 30,000. Single payment or aggregate of 1 lakh total. Uh, if a person is in business of flying, hiring, leasing of goods carriage, and if has furnished the pan, and if he is owning 10 goods carrier, less than 10 goods carrier in the year, then no TDS will be applicable. And if it is for personal use also, no TDS will be applicable. Here the work contracts, what means includes inclusive definition, advertisement, broadcasting, transportation, and job work. If it is material are used by the material used is of customer, and if the material is invoiced separately, then no, not required to deduct TDS on the materials. And then we have also seen some circulars and notifications. Transportation charges by purchaser to the supply or natural gas, since this is in the contract of sale, not transportation, so no TDS will be deducted under 194C. Payments made by the broadcaster television channel to the production houses for the content product produced. If it is on the specifications of the broadcast and television channel, then 194C will be applicable. And if it is just they are purchasing it, then 194C will not be applicable on it. TDS on GST component, 194C is not applicable. And TDS made by on the payments by the transporter company to the owner of the goods carrier, he is the SSC is liable to the TDS, but not the company. As in the case of Sri Chaudhary Transport Company, the cement company is liable, not liable to deduct TDS for the goods carrier. He, as cement companies has deducted TDS for the SSC. Then
No, no.
194D
One second.
on TDS on
One second. So here, the circular that you are referring to for the applicability of the TDS provision on payment by the transporter to the truck operator for hiring the vehicle. So in that case, the question before the court was that whether the assessee is required to deduct the TDS. Yes, when it makes
yes.
the payment for the transportation of the good. Then the transporter who hired the services of the truck, whether he was also under the obligation, the answer to that is yes. He is also required. Only if the truck owner is having less than 10 goods carriage, only in that case the TDS is not required. So if you go through the circular, it clearly says that even the transport company who is hiring the services of the truck owner is also required to deduct the TDS under 194C.
Yes, ma'am. Since it is kind of subcontracting them.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Then insurance commission 194D. Any person to a resident at the time of credit or payment of amount greater than 20,000, rate is 2% for other than company and 10% for companies. Then 194DA payment in respect of life insurance policy, life insurance to any resident at the rate of 2% of the income. Here, income is amount received minus amount paid on the insurance. Threshold limit is 1 lakh, and if 10 days, if there is exemption under 10 days, then TDS is not applicable. 194 EE TDS on withdrawal from National Savings Scheme, TDS at the rate of 10%, threshold of rupees 2,500 at the time of payment. 194G commission on sale of lottery tickets, any person to any person at a rate of 2%, threshold limit is limit 20,000 at the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier. Then 194H commission. Here commission, the important thing is acting on behalf of other person. There should be a component acting on behalf of the other person to any person. Payer is any person, individual or HUF having turnover greater than 1 CR in business or 50 lakhs for profession to any resident at the time of credit or payment at a rate of 2%. Threshold limit is greater than 20,000. Here, circular for payment made by the television channels and publication house to the advertisement companies for procuring or canvassing the advertisement. Here, there are two payments. One is the client who is paying to the advertisement company. Here, 194C will be attracted, and the advertisement company is making payment to the broadcaster are there. Here, it is not in the nature of the commission or brokerage, so 194H will not be attracted over here. And one no personal use purpose is excluded in 194H. Then 194I, for the purposes of rent, any person, individual or HUF, turnover greater than 1 CR or 50 lakhs to a resident at the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier. TDS rates are 2% for plant and machinery or equipment and 10% for land and building or furniture. Threshold limit is 50,000 per month, a part thereof. Each co-owner will be applicable here. Share of each co-owner individually will be looking here for 50,000 per month, a part thereof. It is not applicable if a rent is paid to the REIT business trust if it is a REIT or owning the house property. Then 194 IA TDS on transfer of immovable property other than the agricultural land. Here the agricultural land is rural agricultural land. If urban agricultural land, then TDS will be applicable. Deductor who is the transferee and deductee is the resident transferor. Timing at the time of credit payment, whichever is earlier. TDS at the rate of 1% of higher of the consideration of the stamp duty value. Threshold limit of 50 lakhs if consideration of stamp duty value is higher. Here, threshold should be seen as the aggregate amount for all the transferee or the transferers. Then consideration includes all the charges, including incidental charges. Here, TAN number is not required for payment of TDS. Then 194 IB, rent by individuals or HUF whose turnover is less than 1 CR. 194 I के नीचे कुछ सर्कुलर है मिसड 194 I के नीचे कुछ सर्कुलर्स में shall I continue that?
Yeah, please
uh,
continue.
On surplus for 194I for cooling charges to the cold storage, 194 it is in the nature of the contract, not in the nature of the rent. So 194C will be applicable. Passenger service fees by an airline to the airport. Here they are incidental using of the land and building, and they are providing other facilities. So 194I will not be applicable here. Then lease rentals paid to a lesser located unit in the IFSC on the lease of the aircraft or ships, then 194I is not applicable if the lesser gives uh, gives lessee details of previous year relevant to 10. He is deducting in 10 years he is taking deduction under section 80L. TDS on GST component is not there. Any lump sum payment on the lease which is not adjustable against the rent, it is not under 194I. Then 194 IB, rent by individual or HUF. Payment, any individual or HUF whose turnover is less than 1 CR or 50 lakhs. Pay is any resident. Timing at the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier, it is for the entire year of the last month or last month of the tenancy. At the rate of 2%, threshold is 50K per month or part thereof. No TAN number is required. 194 IC, payment in cash for specified agreement under section 45 fire joint development agreement. TDS at the rate of 10% to any resident. Timing at the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier. Threshold, there is no threshold for this. Then 194J, fees for professional technical service royalties. Director whose TDS is not deducted under section 192, non-compete fees, and to any deductor is any person or individual or HUF turnover is greater than 1 CR or 50 lakhs to any resident at the time of the credit. Then for technical service, threshold is 50,000 at the rate of 2%. Professional service 50,000 at the rate of 10%. Royalties 50,000 at the rate of 10%, and it is 2% if it is for royalty for cinematography. Non-compete fees 50,000 at the rate of 10%. Director remuneration, there is no threshold limit at the rate of 10%. If the payee is engaged in operation of call center, then it is 2%. Yeah, professional services, legal, medical, engineering, technical consultancy, advertisement, skill-based requirements is required. 194J is not applicable if professional services are of personal use. Third-party agreements, paying money to the medical hospitals, then 194J will be applicable. And computer software is within the meaning of right of use of computer software is within the meaning of royalty under section 9 16. So we have to deduct TDS under 194J. However, because of the circular, the transfer is not required to deduct TDS if it is with if it has required if has taken the software from the transferor without any modification, and before only there already 194 TDS has been deducted under section 194J or 194 195 for non-residents, and he has taken declaration from the transferor and PAN numbers of the transferor. Then 194M, payee is individual or HUF whose turnover is less than 1 CR or 50 lakhs. Payment for personal purposes under contract 194C, 194H commission or professional services at the rate of 2% at the time of credit of payment. Threshold limit is 50 lakhs. No TAN is required.
Yes.
194M तक की पढ़ी थी.
Yes. Okay. Very good. So this is how, the revision actually should be, wherein you are going through each and every provision, but very, very quickly, right? So this is how one should be looking at even at the time of examination. And that is also the purpose why we start with the revision of the earlier class, because that will help you to recollect, okay, this is what we have done. In case you make any mistake, you will be able to get it rectified therein itself. So that is the entire purpose with which we are doing this entire exercise. Are you getting this point, students? So whenever you want to study even for the examination, make sure you do it in this way itself. Don't like just go through one by one, like all the provisions during the exam time, at least for, like, let's say for example for the TDS provision, right? So that can be done very quickly. So what students try to do in the examination one day before when they are revising, they would try to go through each and every provision in detail, and then they would lack the time to revise the important provision. So don't do that, students. So always make it a point to maintain your own notes. That is the reason why I also give you the notes here, so that you keep on writing. This will help you to consolidate everything in the last stage of your exam. Right? Secondly, even on the day of the examination, the screen is not visible. एक सेकेंड, तो ये हो गया. अब आ रहा है? अभी आया? ब्लैक क्यों आ रहा है? एक ही सेकेंड. अब आ रहा है क्या? Okay, perfect. So this is how you should be revising for your examination, students. Fine. So with this, we will start with the I don't think we have done 194K and all those sections, right? We have not done. From I, we have directly moved to I, J, and then M, right? So now we'll start with the rest of the sections. Let us start. One 94K. Income in respect of units. What does it say? Any person responsible for paying to a resident any income in respect of units of a mutual fund specified under 1023D, units from the administrator of the specified undertaking. Then specified undertaking here means that the unit trust of India. Units from a specified company. Again, the specified company means a company which is referred to in unit trust of India. So basically these are referring to units of a mutual fund only. Shall at the time of credit of such income to the account of pay or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier, deduct income tax at the rate of 10%. What is this income that they are talking about? Yes. Yes, students. What is this units of mutual fund income that they are talking about? Which income? Yes, faster. Yes, no one? Fast. What is it that they are referring to? Sorry. Yes. Yes, students. Units of mutual fund. Yeah, but what income? Is it capital gain? What is the kind of income? Hmm? Is it dividend? Capital gain? Yes. So it is saying that the provision of this section shall not apply where the amount of income or as the case may be the aggregate amount of income credited or paid during the financial year by the person responsible for making the payment to the account of pay does not exceed rupees 10,000. So this limit has been updated this year. Or if the income is in the nature of capital gain. So what does this mean? Which income are they referring to? Yes,
Dividend
students.
income.
Correct. So this doesn't mean that they are referring to the capital gain, because on the capital gain, what they are trying to say here is that on capital gain, there will not be any TDS. Are we clear? So the capital gain has not been covered for the purposes of the TDS. So this is in respect of the dividend income. Are we clear? So let's just write it. Not applicable on the capital gain. Okay. Let's move to the next section. Very simple section is was. Now this 194L which is there, it is
Ma'am,
not applicable. Yes.
194 जो डिविडेंड है वो शेयर्स के ऊपर है,
हाँ,
राइट? तो
yes,
ऑलरेडी उसमें क्लब कर सकते हैं ना मैम, अलग से क्यों की है?
I'll show you. So 194 is dividends which is there. This talks about the principal officer of an Indian company or a company which has made the prescribed arrangement for the declaration and payment of dividend, meaning the domestic company they are saying. So this is concerning the dividend paid by a company, not on the units of the mutual fund. They are referring, see, to a shareholder. Are we getting this point? And they are saying dividend
Okay.
within the meaning of 222. Now, if you go to 222, 222, if you look at, what does it talk about? Dividend includes any distribution by a company of the accumulated profits which releases the assets. Distribution of the debentures or the bonus shares to preference shareholder. Distribution made to the shareholder on its liquidation. Then it talks about distribution on capital deduction. Distribution, any payment by a loan, buyback. So it talks about these kind of dividend. Are we getting this particular point? Yes. So
Okay,
this
ma'am.
doesn't cover
Yes,
the
ma'am.
distribution on the units because that is not technically dividend. Dividend is given to a shareholder. We are just writing in a common parlance that the dividend on units, but technically there's no dividend on units. It is the income that you get generated on the units, which is not in the nature of capital gains. Because as a unit holder, you are not a shareholder of the company. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then we have next section 194 LA. Payment of compensation on acquisition of certain immobile property. Can anybody tell me what is this?
कंपल्सरी एक्विजिशन करते हैं ना गवर्नमेंट।
Yes. Under which provision it is taxable? Yes, we have already done that.
कैपिटल गेन्स।
Which section?
इट इज ए ट्रांसफर।
Yes.
247।
Yes, faster. 247, what? But where is it covered? We have already done that.
247 के अंदर इट इज ए ट्रांसफर।
Hmm. Very good. But how the taxability happens?
Whenever the payment is received in that year, it is taxed, right?
Hmm. But which is the section? Anybody? Yes. All of you have already done this particular chapter. No one? Look back at your notes. Tell me what is it provision talking about for the compulsory acquisition? Yes.
Section 45(5).
54D, correct. Section
45(5).
45.5. Yes, very good. 54D is not the correct answer. 54D is not the correct answer. So 45.5, what does it say? So let's say, for example, this year my land is compulsorily acquired and I get the money in the next year. So when do you tax this?
In the year of receipt of payment.
Correct. And what if I get the enhanced compensation in the next year, in the third year?
Cost of improvement will be nil for that, and it will be
Correct.
taxed in the T.
Correct. So what do they try to say is that in case of compulsory acquisition of the land, let's say the land is acquired, the compensation is received in the next year. So in the year in which you get the compensation, in that year, you will have the capital gain. But what if there is an enhanced compensation received in the third year? Then in that year, you will again tax the enhanced compensation. However, what will be the cost of acquisition? Nil. But what will be the period of holding in the case of enhanced compensation?
It will be calculated from first, from whenever it is holded the property, right, ma'am?
When do you stop the
मतलब,
period of holding count?
whenever it is actually acquired by the government.
Yes.
जो
Even in the case of enhanced compensation. In the case of original compensation, that is going to be there. But in the case of enhanced compensation also, you will consider the period of holding up till the point when when you when the land
transfer
is
that.
compulsorily acquired by the government. Are you getting this particular point, students?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
till that point in time, you will consider the enhanced compensation, the period of holding. Okay. And then what will I consider any legal expenses? Yes, I will consider the legal expenses also as the reduction in the cost. Fine. So that is the way the compensation or the enhanced compensation is taxed. What if the interest on enhanced compensation is received?
Income from other source.
It will be income from other source and you will get the deduction of you will get the deduction of
50%.
50% of the amount under 57.
57. Yes.
And interest is taxable in the which year?
Receipt, in the year of receipt.
In the year in which the interest is received. As per section 145B. What about investment in bonds for the purposes of 54EC? From which time period you will consider the 6 months?
From the receipt, whenever it is received, from there 6 months.
From the receipt of the compensation, not from the day when the land was compulsorily acquired. And here, which land are we talking about? Does it cover the rural agricultural land?
No, ma'am. Anyhow, it is not taxed.
It is not a capital asset. So here this covers the urban agricultural, the here it covers it doesn't cover the rural agricultural land. What about the urban agricultural land? Whether it covers the compensation on the acquiring compulsory acquisition of urban agricultural land?
Yes, ma'am.
No, it doesn't cover. It doesn't cover the compensation in respect of the urban agricultural land. Why? Can anybody tell me the reason? Yes. So this is the reason. In the case of an assessee who is an individual or HUF, any income chargeable under the head capital gain arising from the transfer of a agricultural land where such land is situated in area referred to in 214, which is the urban agricultural land. Yes or no? Such land during the period of 2 years immediately preceding the transfer was being used for agricultural purposes. Such transfer is by way of compulsory acquisition. So what does this mean? 1037, what does it try to say? Yes. Yes, students, faster you have all of this done, right, in your capital gain class. What does 1037 says? So, compulsory acquisition of urban agricultural land is exempt under 1037. Compulsory acquisition of rural agricultural land, it is not taxable because rural agricultural land is not a capital asset. So that means 45(5) covers only the capital gain in respect of the land which is other than the agricultural land. Are we getting this point, students? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So 194 LA TDS on compensation in respect of compulsory acquisition of land other than a rural agri land. Why is this exempt or why is this not taxable? Because this is not a capital asset or urban agri land. Because this is exempt under which section?
1037.
Fine. See students, this is how you have to interlink and study. You can't study everything in isolation. Income tax is not meant to be studied in isolation. Fine. So any person responsible for paying to a resident any sum in the nature of compensation or the enhanced compensation or the consideration or the enhanced consideration on account of compulsory acquisition under any law of any immobile property, see they have written, other than the agricultural land, shall at the time of payment or of such sum in cash by issue of check or any mode whichever is earlier, deduct the amount equal to 10%. So let us write here, payer any person would be usually government or local authorities. Pay is my resident. Timing, here they are not saying credit because this is taxed only on receipt, right? So timing is payment. TDS is 10%. No deduction shall be made where the aggregate of such payment to a resident in the financial year does not exceed rupees 5 lakh. So my threshold is here. Fine. And no deduction shall be made under this section where such payment is made in respect of an award or agreement which has been exempted from the levy of income tax under the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement act. So where the compensation is exempt under this act, no TDS will be required. Are we clear? Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then let's go back to the 194L. Then we have the other provision in respect of the 194LB. Income by way of interest from infrastructure debt fund, where any income by way of interest is payable to a non-resident. Now see, what we are going to do is, we are going to deal all of these section 194LB, then 194LBC, LC, LD, all of this we are going to deal in a separate category which is applicable for the non-resident. So this we are not taking it as of now. I'll take it at the end of the class tomorrow. 194 LBA, income from the units of business trust. This we have done or not? Yes? You have done this at the time of REIT. Yes or no? Yes. Do you recollect? Yes, everybody? So, but just we'll do a quick recap where any distributed income referred to in 115 UA being of the nature referred to in 1023 FC or FCA of section 10 is payable by the business trust to its unit holder being a resident. The person responsible for making the payment shall at the time of credit or at the time of payment deduct the income tax at the rate of 10%. Which is this income they are referring to? Yes. Yes, which is the income that they are referring to? Faster?
Rental income by REIT to
Rental income
the
and
uh,
so this refers to interest received from a special purpose vehicle, dividend received from a special purpose vehicle. 1023 FC refers to the dividend and interest. Now, is it talking about the REIT? No. This is talking about the distributed income referred to in 115 UA. What is 115 UA? Yes. What is 115 UA, students? We have done all of this in detail. 115 UA talks about income of the unit holder, which says any income distributed by a business trust to its unit holder shall be deemed to be of the same nature and in the same proportion in the hands of the unit holder as it has been received by the business trust. Yes or no? So the way it is characterized in the hands of the business trust, in the hands of the unit holder, it will be treated in the same way. And any distributed income received by the unit holder from the business trust is of the nature referred to in 1023 FC or FCA. Then such distributed income shall be deemed to be the income of the unit holder and shall be charged to tax as the income of the previous year. Yes or no? So that means any interest received from the SPV, because that is exempt in the hands of the business trust, is going to be taxed in the hands of the unit holder under 115 UA. So 1023 FC says what? Income received by income of a business trust by way of interest from SPV. So 1023 FC exempts that interest. And 115 UA says that this interest will be taxable in the hands of the, will be deemed to be the income of the unit holder. So any distributed income of received by the unit holder which is of the nature referred to in 1023 FC. 1023 FC refers to what? Interest and the dividend. Yes or no? Then this dividend and interest shall be deemed to be the income of the unit holder. So 1023 FC exempts in the hands of the business trust. 11 UA taxes in the hands of the unit holder. And this section says what? This section says what? Your 194L, one second. LBA. It says distributed income referred to in 115 UA being in the nature referred to in 1023 FC. So this means what? Which kind of income?
Dividend income and interest income.
Correct. Or 1023 FCA refers to what? Any income of a business trust being a REIT by way of renting or leasing out any real estate asset directly owned by such business trust. So again, any rent income received by the business trust is exempt under 1023 FCA. But this will be taxable in the hands of the unit holder by virtue of 115 UA. So this 194 LBA is applicable in respect of dividend, interest and rental income. So when this is payable to a resident unit holder, what is the TDS rate? 10%. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
If you recollect,
Yes,
we have done this already in the REIT class. So if you see here, in respect of the, I think, interest we have written here. Yes. See, resident unit holder and TDS under 194 LBA is 10%. For non-resident, it is 5%. So if you look at what does it say? Where any distributed income referred to in 115 UA being in the nature of 1023 FC, which is again dividend and interest, is payable by a business trust to its unit holder being a non-resident or a foreign company. The person responsible shall at the time of credit or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier, deduct the income tax at the rate of 5% in the case of interest and 10% in the case of dividend. So A is interest, B is dividend. So if you look at this, we have written here, it is 10% in the hands of dividend and this is 5%. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is this clear to everyone? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Then nothing contained in subsection 1 and 2 shall apply in respect of income referred to in 1023 FCB, which is dividend, if the SPV has not exercised the option under 115BAA. What does this mean?
Because it is taxable in the hands of the SPV, then it will not be taxable in the hands of the unit shareholders.
No.
Unit holder.
No.
मतलब अभी 115BA जो एक्सरसाइज की है तो डिविडेंड यूनिट होल्डर के हाथ में टैक्स होता है. अगर 115BA नहीं ऑप्ट किए तो dividend is not taxable in the hands of the unit holders.
Yes. So if the SPV has not exercised the option under 115BAA, means it is going for normal tax rate. It is not going for concessional tax rate. Then this dividend will be exempt in the hands of the business trust as well as in the hands of the unit holder. And therefore, TDS under this section will not be applicable. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Because if you look at this particular section, what did I tell you last time? Where the SPV has exercised the option under 115BAA. If the answer is no, then dividend not taxable even in the hands of unit holder. So there's a specific exemption under 1023 FD. Any income referred to in 115 UA received by the unit holder from the business trust not being that proportion which is of the nature referred to in 1023 FCA. 1023 FCA is interest or dividend. In the case where the SPV has exercised the option under 115BAA. So which means if the SPV has not exercised the option under 115BAA, dividend will be exempt in the hands of the unit holder. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Last is where any distributed income referred to in 115 UA being in the nature of 1023 FCA, which means the rent, is payable by the business trust to unit holder being a non-resident or a foreign company. The person responsible for making the payment shall at the time of credit or at the time of payment deduct the income tax at the rates in force. Fine. So this also we had done. In respect of the rental income, this is taxable in the hands of unit holder, TDS under 194 LBA, for resident 10%, for non-resident it will be the rates in force. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then 194 LBB, income in respect of investment fund. So this is talking about where any income other than the income, proportion of income which is of the nature referred to in 1023 FBB is payable to a unit holder in respect of investment fund. The person responsible for making the payment shall at the time of credit or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier, deduct the income tax at the 10% where the payee is resident or where the payee is non-resident and the rates in force. What does this mean? Which income are they talking about here?
Alternate investment funds.
Correct. But what is the nature of income?
It is not in the nature of PGBP income. Any other income than other than PGBP. Then only it will be act as pass-through entity, right?
So if you recollect for the AIF, if it is other income, this is not taxable in the hands of AIF. Then it is taxable in the hands of investors. So for resident, it is 10%. For non-resident, it is at the rates in force. So this is saying the same thing. Where any income other than that referred to in 1023 FBB. Now if you go to 1023 FBB, 1023 FBB talks about income referred to in 115 UB received by unit holder which is of the nature chargeable under that PGBP. So this is saying other than PGBP, which is payable to unit holder. On that, the TDS shall be 10% if the payee is resident and at the rates in force where the payee is non-resident. Clear? This is also what we have done it.
Yes, ma'am.
Next is 194 LBC, income in respect of investment in securitization trust, where any income is payable to an investor being a resident in respect of investment in securitization trust. The person responsible for making the payment at the time of credit or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier, deduct the income tax at the rate of 10%. And where it is non-resident, it shall deduct at the rates in force. So if you recollect, we have done this particular thing also for the securitization trust. So for resident, it is 10%. For non-resident, it is at rates in force. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is just a recap of what we have already done. 194 LCLD we will not be doing as of now. 194M we already did that day. So directly moving to 194N. Payment of certain amount in cash. What does it say? Every person being a banking company to which the Banking Regulation Act applies. Cooperative society engaged in the carrying on of business of banking or a post office who is responsible for paying any sum being the amount or aggregate of amount as the case may be in cash exceeding rupees 1 crore to any person from one or more accounts maintained by the recipient with it shall at the time of payment of such sum deduct amount equal to 2% of such as income tax. What does this mean?
इफ इन प्रीवियस ईयर अगर बैंक वाले कैश पेमेंट कर रहे हैं किसी को भी, मतलब डिपॉजिट अभी निकाल रहे हैं, तो अगर 1 करोड़ से भी ज्यादा हुआ तो टीडीएस काट के पेमेंट करना,
Correct.
कैश
So this
विड्रॉल.
is, yes, correct. So this is applicable on the withdrawal of the cash amount, which is more than what they have said. How
Once a year.
much? 1 CR. So this is applicable on the withdrawal of the cash amount. So let's just write down first here. So this applies to withdrawal from bank, a cooperative bank, or the post office, right? Exceeding rupees 1 crore. Then my TDS is how much? 2%. Clear? Provided that in the case of a recipient who has not filed the return of income for all of the 3 assessment year relevant to the 3 previous years, for which the time limit of return under 139(1) has expired, immediately preceding the previous year in which the payment of such sum is made to him, the provision of this section shall apply with the modification that the sum or the aggregate of the amount in cash exceeding 20 lakh rupees during the previous year and the TDS deduction shall be amount equal to 2% of the sum where the amount being paid in cash exceeds 20 lakh but does not exceed 1 crore, or an amount equal to 5% where the amount in cash exceed 1 crore during the previous year. Then they say where the recipient is a cooperative society, the provision of this section shall have the effect as if for the words 1 crore, the word 3 crores have been substituted. So what they are trying to say is that if the recipient has not furnished the ITR for all the 3 preceding previous year and the time limit under section 139(1) has expired, right? So if my recipient is a cooperative society and this is other than cooperative society. So on the withdrawal exceeding 20 lakh, but less than rupees 1 crore, my TDS is how much? 2%. And for withdrawal greater than rupees 1 crore, TDS is 5%. In the case of cooperative society, if my withdrawal is greater than rupees 20 lakh but less than equal to 3 crore, then this will be 2%. And for withdrawal greater than rupees 3 crore shall be 5%. Is this clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is the 194N. Then they say there are certain exclusions that this section shall not apply on any payment made to government, banking company, cooperative bank, post office, any banking correspondent of a banking company or a cooperative bank, or any white label automated teller machine operator of a banking company or the cooperative bank. So if the withdrawal is made by them, in that particular case, 194N will not be applicable. Clear? Let us look at some of the again notifications. So here the central government, after the consultation with RBI, has notified that in respect of the exemption under 194N, the cash replenishment agencies and the franchise agents of the white label automated teller machine operator, basically the ATM operators, they should maintain a separate bank account from which the withdrawal is made only for the purpose of putting the cash in the ATM machines. Because it shouldn't happen that, they are withdrawing the amount more than 2 crores and they are not depositing back in the ATM. So for depositing in ATM, for replenishing the cash in the ATM, they should maintain a separate bank account from which they withdraw. And they should furnish a certificate every month to the bank certifying that the bank account of these cash replenishment agencies and the franchise agents have been examined and the amounts have been reconciled with the cash deposited in the ATM. Are we clear? Very simple circular notification. Second is in respect of the APMC commission agent or trader, which are registered under the agricultural produce market. So, if they wish to withdraw the cash in excess of 1 crore, they should intimate to the bank or a cooperative bank or a post office their PAN and that they are the commission agent. And they should certify that this is for the purpose of making the payment to the farmers on account of purchase of agricultural produce. So then the bank has to verify that these are indeed registered with the APMC. And then in that case 194N will doesn't apply to them. Are we clear?
मैम कमीशन एजेंट हर एक विड्रॉल पे डिक्लेरेशन देना पड़ेगा क्या मैम बैंक को?
हर एक विड्रॉल पे नहीं, उनको एक ही विड्रॉल पे देना पड़ेगा.
इनिशियल विड्रॉल पे बोलना पड़ेगा, बाद में
यस, जब 1 crore से इनफैक्ट क्रॉस होगा तब.
ओके
Okay. Then the ADs, authorized dealer, basically the bank, money changing, the dealers which are there, which convert the foreign exchange cash, all of that, which are licensed by RBI. They should also maintain a separate bank account from which withdrawal is made for the purpose of purchase of foreign currency from the foreign tourist or non-residents visiting India in cash or for the disbursement of inward remittances to the recipient beneficiaries in India. So basically, there are these money changing activity. If you land on the airport, you will see that there are, money changing agents wherein you give them the foreign currency, USD, euros, they will give you the INR amount. Now they also have to withdraw the cash in a bulk amount. So they need to maintain separate bank account. Otherwise, to them also 194N becomes applicable. So to claim the exemption under 194N, they have to maintain a separate bank account for these withdrawals and they have to furnish the certificate that the withdrawal is only for the purpose of purchase of foreign currency. Then it is also not applicable to any foreign representation, diplomatic missions, any UN, international organization, consulates. They are also not required to pay the TDS under 194N. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, let us look at this example. So here they have given an example that the person referred to in 1 to 6, which are there, these 6 persons which are there, having always filing their return of income on or before the due date under 139(1). and 7 to 10% which are there, here, these four, they have not filed the return for the last 5 years. Now determine the liability of deduction under 194N by the bank or a cooperative bank in each of the individual cases, assuming that this is the only withdrawal in previous year 25-26 by the person referred to in column 2. So first is Mr. Harshit, who has withdrawn the money from SBI. Date of withdrawal is 1st July 2025. Amount of withdrawal is 1 crore 10 lakh. So what will be the TDS on?
TDS will be on 10 lakhs since he has filed returns for the 3 years and submitted to the bank also. So greater than 1 CR on 10 lakhs, TDS will be 2%.
So here students understand the TDS will not be on entire 1 crore. This will be in cash exceeding 1 crore. So when I talk about the TDS over here, this has to be on the amount greater than 1 crore. Right? So TDS is not on entire 1 crore, but amount exceeding rupees 1 crore. Clear? So in this case, on 10 lakh, 2% will be there. Then Mr. Pranav has withdrawn from SBI on 1st August 2025, 90 lakh.
Since less than 1 CR, no TDS.
Correct. Then it is ABC Cooperative Society who has withdrawn from SBI on 1/9/2025, 2 crore 70 lakh.
Since recipient is a cooperative society, 1 crore will be replaced by 3 CR and it is less than 3 CR, no TD.
Correct. So here the limit which is given for the cooperative society, the provision of this section shall have the effect instead of 1 crore, 3 crore rupees. So even in this case, which is there, this 1 crore gets replaced to 3 crore. For cooperative society, this becomes rupees 3 crore. So since it is less than 3 crore, there will not be any TDS. Fine. XYZ Cooperative Society withdrawing from MNO Cooperative Bank 3 crore 10 lakh on 1/9/25.
On 10 lakhs, 2%.
On 10 lakhs, 2%. Mr. Weber withdrawing from MNO Cooperative Bank 1/9/25, 2 crore 10 lakh.
1 crore 10 lakhs, 2%.
Correct. So the recipient should be a cooperative society, not the payer. Right? For the limit of 3 crore. A Limited withdraws from the MNO Cooperative Bank 1 crore 5 lakh.
On 5 lakh.
Yes.
2%.
DEF and Company, a firm, withdraws from MNO Cooperative Bank on 1st February 26, 90 lakh.
Since ITR has not been filed for 3 years, the limit will be 20 lakhs. Above 20 lakhs, 70 lakhs, 2%.
Correct. This case, sorry. Sorry.
In next case, Mr. Varun, ITR has not been filed on up to 20 lakhs up to 1 CR, 2%. After 1 CR, 5%.
Correct. So 1 crore 20 lakh is there. So up to 1 crore, sorry, up to 20 lakh, there will not be any TDS. Right? So on the first 80 lakh, it is 2% because he has not filed the ITR. So here, if you look at it, greater than 20, less than 1. What is my amount? 1 crore 20. So till the 1 crore, whatever amount is there, 20. More than 20, so I will subtract from 1 crore 20, 20. Remains 80 lakh on that 2%. On the amount exceeding 1 crore, it will be 5%. It won't be the case that on 20 lakh, there will be only 5%. It won't be like that. Or on 80 lakh, it will be 5%. It won't be like that. Because if you read the section, what does it say? In cash, exceeds 20 lakh but does not exceed 1 crore. So 2% of the sum which is in excess of 20 lakh but not in excess of 1 crore. Are we clear? Next, Mr. Rakesh withdrawing from BOI on 1st February 26, 45 lakh.
On 25 lakhs, 2%.
PQR Cooperative Society 3 crore 30 lakh.
Recipient is a cooperative society, so on 20 lakhs, no TDS. 20 lakhs to 3 crores, 2%. Above 3 crores, 5%.
Correct. So on 2 crore 80 lakh, 2%. On 30 lakh, 5%. Is this clear to everyone, students? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Clear, ma'am.
Yes, others, is this clear? Yes, anybody has any questions, any doubt? Okay. Yes.
Yes,
Clear?
ma'am.
Okay. Perfect. Now let us move to the next section. We are not first moving to 194O because that is a long section. So we'll take that after break. First we'll do 194P. What is 194P? Let us understand. Deduction of tax in case of a specified senior citizen. It says notwithstanding anything contained in the provision of chapter 17B. What is 17B chapter? Yes. What is 17B? TDS chapter itself. 17B is nothing but the TDS chapter itself. Right? It says notwithstanding anything contained in any other section under 194 series which is there and the TDS section. In case of a specified senior citizen, we'll see who is a specified senior citizen. The specified bank is basically any bank, shall after giving effect to the deduction allowable under chapter 6A and the rebate allowable under 87A, compute the total income of such specified senior citizen for the relevant assessment year and deduct the income tax on the basis of rates in force. What does it try to say? So this particular provision which has been introduced is to simplify the taxation for the specified senior citizen so that they don't have to, file their income tax return. So what are they trying to say here is that in case of a specified senior citizen, which is there, 194P requires the bank to deduct the TDS on the total income after considering the chapter 6A deduction and the rebate under 87A. Subject to the conditions, subject to the rates in force. What will be the rates in force here, students?
Individual है तो slab rates.
Slab rates? What will be the slab rates?
115 BAC or old scheme.
Correct. So here it is not like, nobody is a payer or a recipient over here. Technically, if you ask me. So this section is asking us basically to deduct the bank to deduct the TDS in respect of the total income after chapter 6A and rebate under 87A of the specified senior citizen. What will be my rates in force? Either it can be 115 BAC or it can be the normal tax regime. Now, who is a specified senior citizen? The specified senior citizen means an individual being a resident in India. So means he is a resident. Who is of the age of 75 years or more at any time during the preceding year, who is having income of the nature of pension and no other income except the income of the nature of interest received from any account maintained in the same specified bank in which he is receiving his pension income. So receives pension plus interest income in the same bank. It should not be that he is getting the interest in ICICI Bank and receives the pension in HDFC Bank. And has furnished the declaration to the bank containing the particulars in the form and manner as may be prescribed. So if this is applicable, then the bank will deduct the TDS as per the slab rate. And the provisions of 139 shall not apply for the assessment year relevant to the previous year in which tax has been deducted. So then no requirement to file the ITR by the specified senior citizen. So this is particularly introduced to help the senior citizen who are pensioners receiving the pension in the same bank account in which receiving the pension in the bank account and are all just generating the interest income in the same bank. Now, what are the declaration? How will the bank come to know? So here they have given it. So here they say the declaration is required to be furnished by the specified senior citizen to the bank in the form 12BBA. In the paper form. They don't have to do anything online because these are old people. They will not understand anything in online mode. They have to furnish just in a paper form, everything in form 12BBA. On furnishing the declaration in form 12BBA, the bank would compute the total income of the senior citizen after allowing the deduction. So they have to furnish, details of all the deductions and all of that, the rebate under 87A and deduct the tax as per the slab. Of course, he has to furnish the evidence for the chapter 60 deduction. If he has, made some LIC, some medical premium, they have to furnish that. Are we clear? So this is just to simplify, but will bank file the ITR? No requirement, Sanjay, to file the ITR. 194(9) clearly exempts the person from filing the ITR. If you look at it, it says there is no requirement, there's no requirement to file the ITR absolutely in this particular case. Shall not apply. 139 shall not apply. Okay. Let us look at the question. Mr. Sharma, a resident Indian age 77 year, gets a pension of 82,000 per month from UP state government. Same is credited to his saving bank account in SBI Lucknow branch. In addition, he generates the interest at the rate of 8% on FD of 40 lakh with the said bank. Out of the deposit of 40 lakh, 2 lakh represents a 5-year term deposit made by him on 1/4/2025. Interest on saving bank credited to his SBI saving account for the previous year is 9,500. From the above facts, compute the total income and the tax liability of Mr. Sharma for AY 26-27, assuming that he has exercised the option of shifting out of 115 BAC 1A. What will be his tax liability?
Shifting out of 115 BAC है तो pension income 82,000 per month into 12 minus rebate 50,000.
Standard deduction, not rebate.
Sorry, standard deduction 50,000. 9,34,000 और उसके बाद में फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट का इंटरेस्ट आएगा, लेकिन चैप्टर 6 डिडक्शन के अंदर 80 TT बी के नीचे 50,000 डिडक्शन एक मिलेगा मैम इंटरेस्ट पे.
Yes, very good.
और 5 टर्म डिपॉजिट है तो 2 लाख के ऊपर वो 80C के नीचे 1,50,000 का डिडक्शन मिलेगा चैप्टर.
Very good. Very good. So what will be the tax liability? Can you compute?
10 lakhs 54,000.
No.
कहीं पे गलत कर.
Yes, students. So, pension 82,000 into 12, 9 lakh 84, less standard deduction 50,000. Yes, because yes, opted out of 115 BAC 1A. If you would have gone with 115 BAC 1A, what would have happened? What is the standard deduction then?
75,000.
75,000. Interest on fixed deposit 40 lakh into 8%. Interest on saving 9,500. He will get the 5-year term deposit ka deduction 1.5 lakh, right? Restricted to 1.5 lakh under 80C. He will get under 80TTB, interest on FD and saving account, right? He will get 50,000 because he's a senior citizen. So 10 lakh 63,500 is the income, and whether we'll get the rebate, the answer is no. Because for the rebate, what is the limit?
5 lakhs.
5 lakh. So here we'll compute the tax as per normal provision, and the tax liability comes to 1,34,210. Clear? What would be the amount of tax deductible at source by SBI, assuming that the same is a specified bank? Is Mr. Sharma then required to file his return if the tax has been fully deducted by SBI?
जितना टैक्स भरना उतना TDS under section
Correct.
194P he will be deduct and he is not liable to file income tax return.
Correct. So this 134,210 will be deducted by SBI and he will then not be required to file the return. Is Mr. Sharma required to file his return if the fixed deposit was with Canara Bank instead of SBI? Other facts remaining the same?
Then 194P will not be applicable and he is required to file the income tax return.
Correct. So then he will not qualify as a specified senior citizen. Then he will have to file under 139. SBI is not required to deduct the TDS under 194. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Clear.
So this completes our 194P. So with this, we'll take a break of 10 minutes and then we'll get back. Yes. Now we are going to start with the very next important section, two most important section that we are going to cover. First one, 194. Oh, let us discuss what is that. Payment of sum by the e-commerce operator to the e-commerce participant. So this is on the TDS on payment by the e-commerce operator to e-commerce participant. So see students, what happened is, let's say for example, we have Amazon, right? There will be customer who would be buying the goods from Amazon and making the payment, let's say of rupees 1000. And then Amazon ultimately makes the payment to the seller. Right? So this person will sell goods or list the goods on Amazon, and Amazon will, let's say, pay rupees 800. So 200 is the commission of the Amazon. 800 is the price which is paid by Amazon to sell. Now what does this section say? It says notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in any of the provision part B of this chapter, where sale of the goods or provision of services of an e-commerce participant, either sale of goods or provision of services. So this can be seller of goods or provider of services. So let's say for example, provider of services, let's say booking.com. What is it trying to do? Let's say I'm going to London. Okay, I'm looking for property. Who is the provider of service here? Hilton. Right? Booking.com is just a facilitator. So this is provider of services. It's not selling. Hilton is not selling any goods. Yes or no? Or make my trip. Again, let's say for example, I'm looking for a hotel in Goa. So this Radisson Blu Goa is the provider of service. Yes or no? So this says that in the case of e-commerce participant, where the sale or provision of services is facilitated by e-commerce operator through its digital or electronic facility or platform by whatever name called. Such e-commerce operator shall at the time of credit of the amount of sale or services or both to the account of e-commerce participant or at the time of payment by any mode, whichever is earlier, deduct the income tax at the rate of 0.1% of the gross amount of such sale or services or both. So what is it trying to say here? The TDS has to be deducted by the Amazon at the 0.1% of the gross amount of sale of goods or the services. And what is my timing here? Credit or payment, whichever is earlier. So your TDS at the rate of 0.1% will be on what amount?
1000 rupees gross amount.
Correct. Here in our example, it will be on 1000. Okay. Then it says For the purposes of this subsection, any payment made by a purchaser of goods or recipient of services directly to the e-commerce participant for the sale of goods or provision of service or both facilitated by an e-commerce operator shall be deemed to be the amount credited or paid by the e-commerce operator to the e-commerce participant and shall be included in the gross amount of such sale or services for the purpose of deduction of income tax. So what is it trying to say? Let's say, for example, if the seller directly pays to the purchaser, the purchaser directly pays to the seller some amount, not through the e-commerce operator but directly. Even that amount shall be included in the gross amount because the sale is facilitated by whom? By the e-commerce operator. No deduction shall be made for any sum credited or paid or likely to be credited or paid during the previous year to the account of the e-commerce participant, being an individual or HUF, where the gross amount of such sale or services or both during the previous year does not exceed rupees 5 lakh. And such e-commerce participant has furnished his PAN or Aadhaar to the e-commerce operator. So what is it trying to say? What is the threshold? The threshold has only been given for the individual or the HUF, which is rupees 5 lakh. For others, the threshold is not applicable. And notwithstanding anything contained in part B of this chapter, a transaction in respect of which tax has been deducted by the e-commerce operator under subsection 1 or which is not liable to deduction under subsection 2 because it is less than the threshold shall not be liable to tax deduction at source under any other provision of this chapter. So if the TDS has already been deducted under 194O on this amount, and even if TDS is not deducted because the threshold is less than 5 lakh, there shall not be any deduction under any other section. So it will not be the case that you will, again deduct the TDS under 194H on this 200. Not applicable. No other section applies in respect of which the TDS has been deducted under 194O. Clear? The provisions of this subsection shall not apply to any amount or aggregate of amount received by the e-commerce operator for hosting the advertisement or providing any other services which are not in connection with the sale or services referred to in subsection 1. So what they are trying to say that in respect of advertisements or any other service which are not in connection with the sale or provision of services, then in that particular case the TDS under 194O will not be applicable. Clear? Now, electronic commerce here means what? Supply of goods or services or both, including the digital products over digital or electronic network. So it will include both. E-commerce will include both supply of goods as well as service. Who is an e-commerce operator? Means a person who owns, operates or manages digital or electronic facility or platform for electronic commerce. Who is an e-commerce participant? E-commerce participant means a person, a resident in India, selling goods or providing services, including the digital product, through the digital or electronic facility or platform for electronic commerce. So, e-commerce operator can be any person. Can be a resident plus non-resident. Who is an e-commerce participant? Only a resident. Are we clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Let us look at some of the examples which have been notified for this purposes of 194O. So CBDT has given the circular in respect of the 194O. Let us look at this. Yes. So CBDT has issued the circular number 17 of 2020 and 20 of 2021, wherein the guidelines are given. Applicability on transactions carried out through various exchanges. So whether 194O is applicable on the stock exchanges or commodity exchanges in respect of the transaction of the stock purchase sale or security purchase sale or commodities traded through the recognized stock exchanges which are cleared by the recognized clearing corporation. Whether the 194O is applicable, whether the exchanges can be treated as e-commerce operator, So the CBDT has clarified that 194.0 is not applicable in relation to transaction in securities and commodities which are traded through the RSCs or cleared and settled by the recognized clearing corporation, including the recognized stock exchange or recognized clearing corporation located in IFSC. Secondly, transaction in electricity, renewable energy certificates or energy saving certificates traded through power exchanges. Again, there 194.0 is not applicable. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Applicability on the payment gateway. Now, what happens? Let's say, for example, I'm booking this hotel. Okay. Let's say, for example, I book this now. Now, this is the amount that they are asking me, right? So, let's say I do pay now. Now, here I have an option to do it through UPI, to do it through Lazy Pay, or Amazon Pay. Now, what are these Lazy Pay or Amazon Pay? These are what? Payment gateway. Yes or no? Now, again, there is a third layer which is getting involved. So, first layer is what? Make My Trip, which is facilitating the service by Radisson Hotel to me. Second layer is coming by Amazon Pay, which is facilitating the payment to Make My Trip, which will then make the payment to Radisson Hotel. Yes or no? So, where will 194.0 come in place? So, what does the CBDT circular say? The payments which are facilitated by the payment gateway, there may be applicability of 194.0 twice. One, when the Make My Trip makes the payment to Radisson. Second, when the Amazon Pay makes the payment to the Make My Trip. So liability to deduct 194.0 may fall on both Amazon Pay as well as Make My Trip. Why? Because both are e-commerce operator. Amazon Pay is also a person who owns, operates or manages digital or electronic facility or platform for electronic commerce. Isn't it? Yes or no? Yes,
Yes,
students?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So in this particular case, what they are trying to say that if there are two platforms which are engaged, then if let's say Make My Trip has already deducted the tax under 194.0, then Amazon Pay will not be required to deduct the TDS under 194.0. And for that, Amazon Pay may take a declaration from the Make My Trip that it is having the responsibility to deduct the TDS and it will deduct so. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. मैम
So,
अगर मेक माई ट्रिप
yes.
नहीं कर रहा तो अमेजॉन पे है जिसको TDS डिडक्ट करेगा ऑनलाइन.
Yes. So let's say, for example, this is my Make My Trip. This is my Radisson property. And I am using Amazon Pay. And this is finally the customer. Right? So this is giving to this and this is giving to this. So what they are saying, this not liable to deduct clear? Yes or no? Because both of them are e-commerce operate.
क्लियर मैम.
Then applicability on insurance agent or insurance aggregator. So insurance agents or insurance aggregator, what happens is that again there may be this insurance agent who may be selling the insurance through the some website, but they don't have involvement in the transaction between the insurance company and the buyer, because then sometimes the buyer may directly take the insurance. So let's say in 1 year, let's say for example, if we talk about this website called policybazar.com, let's say I'm taking a term life insurance. Okay, I don't want to fill in all these details. Leave it. Let's say I want to buy some policy, otherwise they'll be just calling me from tomorrow. So let's say I want to buy the policy over here. Right? Now, this year I buy it from Policy Bazaar. So Policy Bazaar is the e-commerce operator. It will deduct the TDS under 194.0. Yes or no? Yes?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Next year, I'll directly go to Life Insurance Corporation. And I'll directly buy the website, directly buy the insurance. I'll not go to the Policy Bazaar. Then next year also, will the Policy Bazaar has to deduct the TDS under 194.0? So what
No,
they
ma'am.
have said is, yes, the CBDT has said that in the years subsequent to the first year, if the insurance agent or insurance aggregator has no involvement in transactions between the insurance company and the buyer, he would not be liable to deduct the TDS under 194.0 for subsequent years. However, the insurance company shall be required to deduct the TDS on the commission payment, if any, made to the Policy Bazaar for the reference that they have given of the customer. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is applicability on e-auction services carried out by e-auctioners through the electronic portal. You know, these days the auctions are carried out online also. Again, whether the 194.0 will be applicable on the auctioners because they are listing the products. So 194.0 would not be applicable in relation to the e-auction activity carried out by e-auctioners if these conditions are satisfied. If the e-auctioner conducts the e-auction services for its client in the electronic portal and is responsible for the price discovery only. The price is not necessarily the price at which the transaction will actually take place and is up to the discretion of the person who has listed the product to accept the price or directly negotiate with the counterparty. The transaction directly takes place between the buyer and seller outside the electronic portal, and it is not taking place through the e-auction platform. E-auction platform just lists the product and is the starting point for the price discovery. That what are the prices? It is just a starting point for negotiation, but the actual sale will take place outside the e-commerce platform. The e-auctioneer is not responsible for facilitating the purchase and sale of goods for which e-auction was conducted on its electronic portal, except only for the price discovery. And the payments are also carried out directly between the buyer and seller outside the electronic portal, and the e-auctioneer does not have any information about the quantum, schedule of payment, which is only decided mutually by the client and the counterparty. And for payment made to the e-auctioneer for providing e-auction services, the client deducts the tax under the relevant provision of the Act. So either they may deduct under 194H, 194C, whatever. Clear? If these conditions are satisfied, then in that case, the 194.0 will not be applicable. However, the buyer will have to deduct the TDS on the purchase being done from the seller under 194Q. We are going to see the next provision 194Q on. Any questions till now? Yes?
No, ma'am. Clear, ma'am.
Okay. Then there is a next circular number 20 of 2023. Again, what they are saying is who should deduct the tax where there are multiple e-commerce operators involved in a transaction. So here what they have said is that, let's say for example, there may be a buyer side e-commerce operator, there may be a seller side e-commerce operator, and there is a buyer and the seller, which are e-commerce participant. So in that particular case, who has the primary responsibility to deduct the TDS? So that is the question, because we have two e-commerce operators. So see, what happens is that, there is this open network for digital commerce, ONDC. Let me show you. See, this is an open network where anyone can buy and sell from each other online. So there is a seller app, there is a buyer app. So this is how it functions basically. So anyone can register, anyone can buy. So let's say for example, there are platforms where the seller develops some portal, right, on the third party to sell his goods. He's not having his own website, but he's developing the website with somebody else, and somebody else is assisting him to sell his products. Buyer is also not directly purchasing on the seller on that particular portal. He's having some app through which, or some website through which, he will place the orders on the seller website. Again, for developing that app, developing that platform, he's taking help of some other website. So basically, there are two e-commerce operators which are available: the buyer e-commerce operator, the seller e-commerce operator. So in that case, who is required to deduct the TDS? That is the question mark which we have. So in that particular case, what does the provision says here? The CBDT has clarified that in this situation, the compliance is to be done by the seller side, who finally makes the payment to the seller of goods. Because this buyer will pay the consideration to the buyer side e-commerce operator, will then pay the seller side e-commerce operator, and then he will sell to the e-commerce participant. So this is the final e-commerce operator which will make the payment to the seller. And this is the e-commerce operator which should be deducting the TDS under 194O. Any questions till now?
No,
Is this
ma'am.
clear?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay. Situation 2. Let's say, for example, there is a buyer who is making the payment to the e-commerce operator 1, who will then make the payment to e-commerce operator 2, and then who will make the payment to the seller. In the first situation, there was a buyer side e-commerce operator who was providing the interface to the buyer. And on the seller side, the seller e-commerce operator was providing the interface to the seller. Here, there is an e-commerce operator which is providing an interface to the buyer and on the selling side both. And the seller itself is an e-commerce operator and is directly interacting with this particular e-commerce operator 1. So there are three e-commerce operators which are involved. One, e-commerce operator 1. This is the 2 which is making the payment to the seller. And then seller also is an e-commerce operator. Let's say for example, this brand called, let's say Lifestyle. It has its own good and it is also storing the goods for others. In that case, who is liable to deduct the TDS? So in this situation, the CBDT has clarified, since on the selling side, the seller itself is an e-commerce operator and is directly interacting with this e-commerce operators. The compliance is to be done by the e-commerce operator, which finally makes the payment to the seller for the goods or services. So whosoever is making the final payment to the seller will have to deduct the TDS under 194. However, in both the above situation, tax shall be deducted on the gross amount. And this tax shall be deducted by the seller side e-commerce operator whenever it makes the payment to the final seller. Are we clear? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Second is e-commerce operator may be levying convenience fee, charging commission for each transaction, and seller might levy logistics and delivery fee for the transaction. Payments may also be made to the platform or network provider for facilitating the transaction. Would these form part of the gross amount for the purpose of TDS under 194O of the Act? So, when you try to place the orders through Blinkit, Zepto, have you seen how many charges that they levy? Yes? Yes or no?
Shipping charges वो सब लगा transportation charges.
Correct. So, let's say, for example, if I show you, let's say, we are talking about, let's say, Blinkit. Let's say I put a location, Mumbai Central, let's say. Okay, let's say I want to order just one product, this milk packet. Okay, now what is it showing? Where is my cart? I don't know if it gives the cart. Yes. See, there is a delivery charge, there is a handling charge, there is a small cart charge. Yes or no? So whether 194O will be applicable on this 29 or on this 76 rupee which is there. Further, when you let's say pay by credit card, it will pay some charges to the let's say bank also for facilitating that through the credit card company. So the question here is on what amount? So here they have given an example. A buyer purchases goods worth rupees 100 and opts for home delivery. The seller charges packaging fee, shipping fee, convenience charge to recoup the fees charged by the seller side e-commerce operator, buyer side e-commerce operator, and by itself also. So there is invoice of here in our case 76 rupees. So in that particular case, the TDS has to be deducted on the 76 and not on rupees 29 here, which is the price of the product. Because it says, what does the act says? A gross amount of the such sale or services or both. Are we clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
And once it has deducted the TDS on the gross amount, there will not be any other TDS applicable under any other provisions of the Act. Yes? Any questions? Any doubt? Yes?
Ma'am, actual income by the seller will be less, right, ma'am? It will be only
Yes.
on the product of value of the product, right?
Yes.
तो इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट वाले नोटिस नहीं भेजेंगे क्या मैम कि आपने सेल कम दिखाया या हाउ दे विल
नहीं,
ascertain that
because ये हम लोग अलग अलग ही see seller will bifurcate this income. He will have a delivery charge as a separate income, handling charge as a separate income, small cart charge as a separate income, and the income from the facilitation of goods or services as a separate income. Because in this product price also he is purchasing at let's say maybe 15-20 rupees and he's selling you for 29. So the 9 rupees is just commission.
yes ma'am.
So you will show everything separately.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question? Yes or no? Is this clear to everyone?
Clear, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then what does it say? It says section 194S overrides 194O. And if the tax is deducted under 194S, no tax is deductible under 194O. What is 194S? We have already done that.
डिजिटल वर्चुअल एसेट के ऊपर जो टीडीएस कटता है.
Correct. So if it is in the nature of cryptocurrency, if a platform is facilitating cryptos, because if you look at it, this first circular which is there, which is saying that the transaction is not applicable in respect of the exchanges where the transaction is in respect of security and commodity. What if the transaction is in respect of the cryptos? Whether 194O will be applicable or 194S will be applicable.
194, yes.
Yes. Because if you look at 194S, it says payment on transfer of the virtual digital asset. This is a more specific section. And then section 4 says notwithstanding anything contained in 194O, means 194S overrides 194O. In a case of transaction to which the provisions of 194S are applicable, then in the case of transaction where 194O as well as 194S are applicable, then tax shall be deducted under 194S. Are we clear? And this has been clarified by the CBDT here also. Is this clear, students?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Yes, any question, any doubt?
No, ma'am, clear, ma'am.
Now, tell me one thing. In this example, what they have given. Here, the seller is selling the goods for 100 and is charging all these, and 118 are the charges. Total amount is 118 charged to the buyer. However, he receives 115 from the, he pays 115 to the seller side e-commerce operator. Right? So the buyer is buying the goods worth of 100 and is paying 180. So then this buyer will be paying 118 to the buyer side e-commerce operator. This e-commerce operator retained 1 rupee as the fees of itself, which is its commission technically, and pays 117 to the seller side e-commerce operator. This retains 2 as its commission and pays 115 to actually finally the seller. Now the question here is, when the TDS has been deducted on 118, the fees charged by the seller side e-commerce operator and the buyer side e-commerce operator, right? This 1 and this 2. In this example, would have been subjected to TDS under 194H? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Commission.
Because this is commission. And this entity will have to deduct the TDS actually on rupees 1 and on this rupees 2. Right? Buyer would have to deduct TDS under 194H on 1. Also the seller and on this 2. However, since the TDS has been deducted on 118 under 194O, there will not be any further TDS under any other provision. Because what does 194O says? 194O says that a transaction in respect of which the tax has been deducted under 194O shall not be liable to deduction at source under any other provisions of this chapter. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, let's say for example, let's say there is this buyer who buys the goods of rupees 100. There is this buyer side e-commerce operator which retains a commission of 5 and pay 95 to the seller side e-commerce operator. And seller side e-commerce operator retains 10 and pays 85 to the seller. And invoices the seller side e-commerce operator for this. This invoice is for 5, this invoice is for 15, which is 5 for this and 10 for itself. However, the label price for a product is 85. Right? The seller side e-commerce fee for listing is 10 and the buyer side is 5. And therefore 100 is charged. Now the TDS under this again will be on the 100 and not on the 85. Also there may be payment made to the, let's say, Amazon Pay. So whether that will also form part of the gross amount? Yes. So that will also form part of the gross amount of the goods or services. Are we clear? Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Then how will the GST be treated when calculating the gross amount of sale of goods or provision of services as per the provisions of 194(o)? Whether GST will be included for the purposes of the consideration or the gross amount, or will it be excluded? So what they say is where the tax is deducted at the time of credit of the amount in the account of seller, where I'm crediting the account in my books, and the GST is indicated separately, then tax has to be deducted only on the amount excluding the GST. However, a tax is deducted on payment basis because the payment is made earlier than the credit. Then it is not possible to identify the payment as to what is the GST component, what is excluding GST. Then tax has to be deducted on whole amount. For example, if we look at this milk, do you know what is the GST component here? No. If you take any other product, let's say I'm taking this product, do I know what is the GST amount here? This is inclusive of all taxes. So in this particular case, if it is made on the payment basis, it will include the GST because it is not possible to segregate. What about the purchase returns which take place? So let's say, for example, I have already deducted the tax under 194(o) and then the purchase has been returned. So where the money is refunded against the purchase return, then the TDS which is already deducted may be adjusted against a subsequent transaction. However, where the goods are replaced, there is a replacement and there is no refund of money, then no adjustment is required under 194(o) because the goods are just replaced. Then how will the discounts given by the seller as an e-commerce participant or by the multiple e-commerce operators be treated while calculating the gross amount? So when the discount is given by the seller, let's say for example, if we go to this website itself, Blinkit. Now do you look at this product? The MRP of this product is 70. Let's say this discount of 5 rupees is given by the seller itself. Then what is happening? The price of the product itself is going down. Then what I'm charging to the customer is, in this case, 65 rupees. So the TDS under 194(o) will be on 65 or 70?
65.
65. Because that is the price of the product. However, it is possible that let's say I add this and in the cart, let's say they give me some additional discount, some coupon discount, which is given by Blinkit. Right? Where the discounts are given by the e-commerce operator. So let's say this example, he pays 90, 10 is retained. The buyer side gives a discount of 10. And that's the reason he pays 90. But he pays entire 100 to the seller. So discount is given by themselves. Right? So seller receives complete 100. In many websites, they give you the discount. For example, if you go to, let's say, we look at, let's say, lifestyle. This is a retail store. See, buy one, get one free on lifestyle. Let's say this is on the MRP. But there are these, discounts which are ongoing. Let's say if I go here. extra 11% off. Now this is a coupon which they are giving. So in this particular case, they are actually paying 100 to the seller, but they are charging to the buyer discount. So in that case, the TDS will be on 100 and not on 90. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions, any doubt? Yes, it's a very, very important section. Any doubts that you have before we move on to the next section?
Clear, ma'am.
Clear? So 194, O we have done, P we have done. Now, next important section is 194Q. Deduction of tax at source on payment of certain sum for purchase of goods. So, what does it say? This is the deduction of the tax on the purchase of goods. So, any person being a buyer who is responsible for paying any sum to any resident who is seller. So here, when the buyer purchases the goods and makes the payment to the resident seller, right? Where the value of the goods exceeds rupees 50 lakh in a previous year. So purchase of goods of greater than rupees 50 lakh. Shall at the time of credit or at the time of payment. So my timing here is credit or payment, whichever is earlier. Deduct an amount equal to 0.1% of the sum exceeding rupees 50 lakh. So TDS here is not on the entire amount of 50 lakh, but the sum exceeding 50 lakh. Now, who is the buyer here? Buyer here means a person whose total sales, gross receipts or turnover from the business exceed rupees 10 crores during the financial year preceding the financial year in which the purchase of goods is carried out. So, buyer here means what? Whose turnover in preceding financial year. Not in this financial year, but in the preceding financial year. And the provision of this section shall not apply to a transaction on which tax is deductible under any other provision of this Act. So tell me something. When we talk about 194O, when here the buyer makes the payment to the seller and 194O gets applicable, still whether 194Q will be applicable?
No, ma'am.
Why?
Because 194O is applicable, then 194Q is not applicable.
Correct. So, if 194O applies, then 194Q doesn't apply. Clear? So, let us look at again this particular section. We have some FAQs and all of that. So, we have a notification here by the central government on the payment to whom no tax is required to be deducted at source. So, CBDT has given a notification that no tax shall be made under the provisions of 194Q by a person being a buyer in respect of purchase of goods from a unit of a IFSC being a seller. So if the seller is the unit of IFSC, then the TDS is not required to be deducted under 194Q by buyer. If the seller furnishes a statement cum declaration to the buyer giving the details of the year relevant to the 10 consecutive assessment year for which he is claiming the deduction under ATL. And then the buyer would not deduct the TDS on the payment made to the seller after the receipt of the declaration. And he also furnishes the particular in the TDS return. Similar thing was applicable under which other section? Yes.
194I में rent on aircraft and ships.
Correct. 194I में on rent of ships or aircraft, similar thing was there because their unit of IFSC can claim the deduction under ATLA in respect of its total income. And here also in respect of 194Q, similar notification has been given. Fine. Next is, here also the CBDT has issued a circular. Circular 13 of 2021 and 20 of 2021. Again, here the same circular is there, applicability on transactions carried through various exchanges. So they have said 194Q would not be applicable, just like 194O. Transaction in securities and commodities which are traded through recognized stock exchanges or cleared and settled by the recognized clearing corporation, including the recognized stock exchange or clearing corporation in IFSC. Or transactions in electricity, renewable energy certificates, energy saving certificate traded through the power exchanges. What about the GST? Whether 194Q is applicable on the consideration including the GST or excluding the GST? Where the GST is indicated separately, then it shall be on the amount excluding the GST. Are we clear? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
So here also they have given the same circular which has been given under 194O. That where the tax is deducted at the time of credit and where the GST is indicated separately, then tax has to be deducted without including the GST. However, where the tax is deducted on the payment basis, that is if the payment is happening earlier than the credit, and there is no segregation of the GST and the consideration amount, then it has to be deducted on the whole amount. What would happen in the case of purchase returns where the money is refunded by the seller? Then tax deducted which has been there can be adjusted against the next purchase. And where the goods are replaced, no adjustment is required. Now here they say 194Q is applicable on a resident seller. What about the buyer? In the case of 194O, as I said, the e-commerce operator can be resident plus non-resident. But here, whether the buyer is only a resident or a non-resident. So the CBDT has clarified that 194Q would not apply to a non-resident who purchases the goods from a resident seller in India if the purchase is not in connection with the branch or the permanent establishment of such non-resident in India. So if the buyer doesn't have any branch, any office here in India, then in that particular case, the buyer need not deduct the TDS under 194Q. Clear? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear, ma'am.
Any questions, any doubt till now? Okay.
Clear, ma'am.
Then next is, should tax be deducted when the seller is a person whose income is exempt? So if a person is exempt from income tax, 194Q would not apply on the purchase of goods from such a person. Are we clear? Should the tax be deducted on advance payment? So yes, it will be because the provision says payment or credit, whichever is earlier. So even on the advance payment, 194Q will be applicable. Now what will happen if the buyer has been newly incorporated? then how do you see its turnover? Because it didn't have any turnover. It's a newly incorporated. So whether in the year of incorporation, the buyer is required to deduct the TDS. So no, because in the preceding year, it didn't have any turnover. So the provisions of 194Q will not be applicable in the year of incorporation. Simple? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Secondly, with respect to the buyer whose turnover exceeds 10 crore, but the total sales from the business is less than 10 crore. So its turnover is more than 10 crore, which may include from the business also, or the gross receipts. We may say, we may not technically use the turnover. He may have gross receipts. He may have, let's say, some other income also. So his gross receipts are more than 10 crore. But the total sales from the business are less than 10 crore. So what do we use here? Here the tax says buyer is whose total sales, gross receipts or turnover from the business exceed 10 crore. So if the total sales from the business are not exceeding 10 crore and his gross receipts are more than 10 crore, which are even otherwise from the business, then the receipts from the non-business activity are not to be counted for this purpose. His turnover should from the business should exceed 10 crore. Clear?
Yes,
Next
ma'am.
is cross application of 194O and 194Q. So as I said, you can have 194O applicable, right? Because it's an e-commerce operator and there is buyer seller involved. You will have 194Q also applicable because there is buyer seller applicable. Now 194O says a transaction in respect of which tax has been deducted under 194O, or even if it is not deducted because the threshold of individual or HUF is less than 5 lakh, then no other deduction required under any other section. 194Q says the provisions of this section would not apply to a transaction on which tax is deductible under any other section. So how do you reconcile both of them? So if a tax has been deducted by the e-commerce operator under 194O, even if it is not deducted on account of the total sales less than 5 lakh for individual or HUF, the transaction shall not be subjected to 194Q. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions till now? Okay. Yes. The last clarification on 194Q. Applicability of 194Q in cases where exemption has been provided under 206C. 1A. What is 206C? TCS. So we'll see TCS in the next class. It says TCS is not to be collected or tax is not to be collected in case of a buyer who is a resident who furnishes a declaration that the goods are to be utilized for the purposes of manufacturing, processing or producing articles or things, or for the purposes of generation of power and not for trading. So basically TCS is there, tax collected at source. You collect the tax. In TDS, you deduct the tax. The payer deducts the tax. In TCS, the seller collects the tax. So there is an exemption given which says TCS is not applicable if the buyer is purchasing the goods. Seller will not collect the TCS from the buyer if the buyer gives a declaration that he is going to utilize the products for the purpose of manufacturing and not for the purpose of trading. So in case the goods are exempted under 206C1A, the TCS will not be applicable. Whether TDS under 194Q applies? So CBDT has clarified that TDS under 194Q will be applicable in the cases covered under 206C1A. So even if the TCS is not applicable, TDS will still be applicable and the buyer is required to deduct the TDS under 194Q. Fine. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Then whether 194Q is applicable in case of government department. So they say if the department of government is carrying out business or commercial activity, then yes. If it is not carrying out business or commercial activity, because it will not be doing any business, it will not have any turnover from business, so it is not considered as buyer. And if it is department or central or state government, whether it will be considered as seller, the answer is no. Because 194Q doesn't apply to the department of the seller, or if the seller is the central government or state government. Because not being a person, as the central government may notify for this purpose. So if the buyer is the central government, then in that particular case, 194Q is applicable if it is carrying on business. If the seller is the central government, 194Q is not applicable. Are we clear with 194O and 194Q, both the sections?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then 194R, deduction of tax at source on benefit or perquisite in respect of business or profession. Have we done this or not?
Yes, ma'am. 28
Under
4.
which? Correct. Very good. So 194R we have already done in the PGBP section. For those who don't remember, 28.4. Any benefit or perquisite arising from the business or profession, whether in cash or in kind, whether convertible in money or not. TDS under 194R at the rate of 10% is applicable if the value of benefit exceeds rupees 20,000. Are we clear? So this we have already done. And here the person responsible for providing to a resident. So payee has to be a resident. So the TDS is 10% and the threshold is rupees 20,000. However, provision of this section shall not apply to a person being individual or HUF whose total sales does not exceed 1 crore in case of business or 50 lakh in the case of profession. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So if the payer is an individual or HUF, it will apply only to a case. You can write it here itself. My payer, any person for individual or HUF and the payee has to be a resident. Fine. Okay. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
And we had already done both of the circular number 12 and circular number 18 at that point in time. So if you recollect, we have done this entirely in respect of, let's say, for example, if the subsidy is given. If it is a revenue subsidy, it is income. If it is a capital subsidy, if it is not relating to a capital asset under 28.4. If it is relating to a capital asset, it has to be reduced from the cost of asset. It will not be considered under 28.4. As per explanation 10 to 43.1 or ICDS 7. In respect of cash or trade discount, it is a perquisite, but no TDS under 194R will be applicable. Then we had seen free medical sample to the doctors. In the hands of the pharma company will have to deduct the TDS under 194R, plus they will not get any expense deduction under 37 because of the explanation 3 to 37. In the hands of hospital, if the doctor is the employee of the hospital, then TDS will be in the hands of the hospital under 194R. Then hospital can show that this is the income of the hospital under 28.4 and it can claim the deduction in respect of the salary paid to the doctor. If the free sample are not given to hospital but directly to the doctor, then the TDS will be in the hands of the doctor. Are we clear?
Yes,
Then
ma'am.
product given to social media influencer, if the product is returned, it is not a perquisite. If the product is retained, then the TDS under 194R. If out of pocket expenses are paid, if the invoice is in the name of the client and the payment by the consultant later reimbursed by the client, it is not a perquisite. However, if it is invoice in the name of the consultant and the amount is reimbursed by the client, then it is perquisite under 28. In case of dealer conference, if the conference is for explaining the product, it is not perquisite. If the conference is to provide incentive to the select dealers for achieving the target and the leisure is also included in the trip, even if it is incidental, it is perquisite under 28.4. And if the perquisite is in kind, then before releasing the perquisite, the payer has to ensure that the TDS has been deducted of the equivalent amount and then only the perquisite is released. Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions till now?
No, ma'am. Clear, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. Everybody else?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have done this section in entirety at the time of PGBP. Yes or no? So see, that is why we linked it at that point in time. So even if, let's say for example, capital asset are given, then also it will be, there will be TDS under 194R. It need not be in cash, it can be in kind also. Okay, waiver of the loans are there, subsidies are given, all of that are included under 194R. Yes, any questions, any doubt? Fine. Okay, so one or two things which I would want you to take from this circular, which we had not done at that point in time, which I know we have done it, but I'll just take you through. Yeah. Is it necessary that the person providing the benefit or perquisite need to check if the amount is taxable under 28.4? So the person, the payer of the perquisite, does he need to check if the amount is taxable under 28.4 for the pay, or can he just deduct the TDS under 194R? So here the CBDT has clarified that deductor is not required to check whether the amount is a benefit under 28.4 or it is taxable under 41.1. There is no requirement. Because if you see, we had done 41.1 also, which is nothing but deemed income. If a benefit is obtained in respect of remission or cessation of liability. So if there is a waiver of trading liability, then it can be deemed income under 41.1. But at the same time, it can also be considered as perquisite under 28.4. So whether the payer is required to check, there is no requirement for the payer to check whether the amount is taxable in the hands of the payee under 194, under 28.4 or under 41 or under any other section. Second, if the benefit is in kind, how will 194R apply? As I said, before releasing the payment in kind, they have to deduct the TDS of the equivalent amount. Is there any requirement to deduct TDS under 194R when the benefit is in the form of capital asset? Yes. So let's say for example, where assessee has entered into an agreement with any person for purchase of plot of land and has paid some earnest money, booking amount. However, possession of land was not given. And the seller entered into another agreement with a third party to develop the plot. The assessee filed a suit in which a consent decree was passed, and in pursuance of the same, certain amount was paid to the assessee. Now, it was held that the sum received in pursuance of this consent decree was taxable as business income under 28.4 because some benefit has been obtained. Or the waiver of the bank loan under the one-time settlement scheme is nothing but income under 28.4. Again, these are just not amount paid in cash. Value of rent-free accommodation, furniture and fittings given to director. Car given to an assessee by his disciple who has benefited from his preaching. Or shares allotted to the director of the company. Value of the gift of land by any person exercising the vocation. All of these are not necessarily paid in cash. Again, how do you deduct the TDS? You have to deduct the TDS on the equivalent amount. If the loan settlement or waiver is there done by the bank is to be treated as benefit or perquisite. The suggestions were made to the CBDT that it would lead to hardship as bank needs to deduct the TDS and it's an additional cost for the bank. So what they have said that in that particular case, they have clarified then one-time settlement with the borrowers or waiver of loan in respect of the loan taken from the following institution: public financial institution, scheduled bank, cooperative bank, primary agricultural, cooperative agriculture and rural development bank, state financial corporation, state industrial investment corporation, NBFCs, systematically important non-deposit taking NBFC, public company engaged in long-term finance for construction or purchase of residential houses, registered asset reconstruction company. In those cases, there will not be any 194R. But it will still be considered as perquisite under 28(4). They are not saying this is not a perquisite. They are only saying that here in the case of waiver of loan, there will not be any TDS under 194R. So here you can just write it that in terms of the waiver of the loan, there is no TDS. If loan from specified institution. However, it is still a perquisite. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear?
Clear.
Sales discount, cash discount, we have already done that. Then I think so on these 194R is still required where a person gives incentives in the form of cash or kind such as car, TV, computers, gold coin, where the person sponsors a trip, where the person provides free ticket for an event, medical samples. I think we have already done that in detail. How the valuation of the benefit or perquisite is required to be carried out. Where the benefit or the perquisite provider has himself purchased that particular product before providing it to the recipient. The value will be the purchase price for him. And where he has manufactured it, it will be the price it charges to the customer for the same. Again, GST will not be included in the cost of the product. We have done with respect to social media influencer, out-of-pocket expenses. Then I think we have, yeah. This is again for the out-of-pocket expenses. So all of these, we have already done that. Yeah. Company A gives a car to its dealer B and deducted the TDS. Dealer B uses this car in his business. Will he get deduction for depreciation in calculating his income under that PGBP? So CBDT has clarified once the TDS has been deducted under 194R and B has included this perquisite as his income under the income tax return. Now what will be the cost of this car for the purposes of 32?
Value of perquisite.
Value of perquisite. So can he claim the depreciation? Answer is yes. He can certainly claim the depreciation in this respect. Why would he not be able to claim that? He has used this car for the purposes of his business. Even though he has got the car as a benefit or perquisite, he has used this car for his business. He can claim the depreciation on that. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Any question?
No, ma'am.
Next is, there's one more question I think with respect to the dealer conference. Is it necessary that all the dealers must be invited? So CBDT has clarified that it is not necessary that all the dealers are invited to the conference for the purpose of determining whether it is a benefit or perquisite. So, however, it has been clarified that if the benefit or perquisite is provided in such a manner that it is difficult to identify what is the benefit. So, in that particular case, what the CBDT has clarified that there may be certain expenses during the dealer which needs to be classified as benefit or perquisite. However, how do you classify that? Because there may be difficulty in identifying such benefit or perquisite to actual recipient due to the fact that it is a group activity. I have organized a conference for entire group. It is not necessary that I may invite all the dealers of mine. I can invite few dealers. But even when I have invited group, how do I allocate that it is a benefit for them when I am incurring certain expenditure? So it has been clarified that if benefit is provided in a group activity, where it is difficult to match the benefit for each individual, the benefit or perquisite provider, the person who is providing this benefit may at his option not claim the expense itself representing such benefit or perquisite. So instead of deciding what is the benefit for each individual dealer, because it will be very difficult exercise for him. He has incurred, let's say, a hotel, he has booked a hotel in Lonavala. Now this is for the combined participants, all of the participants, and he has booked this bus and all of that. He has done the lunch. So it's an entire group activity. Now how will he allocate the income and deduct the TDS for each of the dealer? What he can do is do not claim the expense itself and don't deduct the TDS. You don't claim the expense deduction and you don't deduct the TDS. That is what they have said in this particular question. Are we clear? Fine.
Clear, ma'am.
Now, next particular important question is where the service is provided. Now, it can be a contract of work. It can be under FTS under 194G. So, you will deduct the TDS under 194C or G. Now, there is also out-of-pocket expense in the same invoice. As I said, if the invoice is in the name of the consultant and it is being reimbursed by the client, then it is a benefit or perquisite. Now, company is deducting TDS on both the service fee and out-of-pocket expenses under 194G. Will again 194R be required for the out-of-pocket expenses? So, if the TDS is already deducted under C or J, then no further TDS under 194R. That is what has been clarified by the CBDT. Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Last one, whether issuance of bonus share or right share is a benefit or perquisite if it is issued by a company which is a closely held company, by a company in which public are substantially interested, by a widely held company. So in case bonus shares are issued to all the shareholders, this does not benefit to the shareholder because in fact when the bonus shares are issued, the overall value of the share is reduced. Right? The overall share capital goes down because the share increase, right? So ownership of the holding does not change. And the cost of acquisition of bonus share is any which way is nil. So it has been clarified that the TDS is not required under 194R on the issuance of bonus shares, where bonus shares are issued to all the shareholders. If it is issued to select shareholder, then the case is different. Fine? Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Next is 194T. What is 194T? We have again already done that.
Partnership firm to
Partners.
surplus
Yes.
remuneration or interest.
So any person being a partnership firm, LLP, responsible for paying salary, remuneration, commission, interest to a partner, time of credit or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier, deduct the income tax at the rate of 10%. However, deduction will not exceed rupees 20,000. Again, I think we had done that here. Yes, TDS under 194T over the payment of credit off to the partner. Fine.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
this section we have already done that. Then we have already done 194S as well. So that is also done and that completes your TDS provision. So all the TDS provisions have been done except for the TDS of the non-resident, which we'll start in the next class. Okay, so 195, all of the section, we will see it in the next class and we'll complete some remaining portion of the TDS. Then we'll start with the TCS, advanced tax, interest, all of those. Fine. Any questions, any doubt? Okay.
क्लियर मैम.
Yes, ma'am.
मैम
Okay.
आपके
Yes.
बोर्ड नोट्स अपलोड नहीं किए हुए हैं.
कौन से नोट्स अपलोड नहीं किए हुए?
आप जो बोर्ड नोट्स लिखते हो ना मैम, वो
हाँ, कौन से चैप्टर की बाकी है?
अब बहुत सारे चैप्टर्स के बाद सिर्फ पीजीबीपी और
हाँ,
क्लबिंग अपलोड किए मैम.
ठीक है,
दे
मैं देख लेती हूँ एक बार. जो
ओके.
नहीं है वो अपलोड हो जाएंगे.
ओके मैम. थैंक यू मैम.
Okay. Okay. Now, before closing the session, let's take some small provisions from the module, which are there on the TDS. First is non-applicability of TDS provision on payment made to corporation whose income is exempt under 1026BB. So, any income of the corporation which is established by central, state or provisional act for the welfare and economic upliftment of ex-servicemen which are citizen of India is exempt under 1026BV. So the circular has been issued that the TDS on the payment made to such corporation will also not be applicable. So this is a very small circular which has been there. So this is something which is a small provision which is there. Then secondly, let us look at, interest or dividend or other sum payable to government, reserve bank or certain corporation. On that also, no TDS shall be made for any sum payable to government, RBI, any corporation which is established under the Central Act and whose income is exempt from income tax, a mutual fund. In these cases, the TDS will not be applicable. In respect of income by way of interest or dividend in respect of securities or shares owned by these entities and any income accruing or arising to them. Clear? So this is something you should remember that on these cases CDS is not there. Then next is certificate for deduction of tax at lower rate. Now see student, this is important. It is quite possible. For example, under 192, I may not have any income chargeable to tax. Right? For example, I am claiming chapter 6A deductions. I am claiming, whatever other exemptions are there. So my salary is below the limit. Or let's say my total income is below the limit, but my salary is more than basic exemption limit. I can take the certificate under 197, which is a lower deduction certificate. Or let's say, for example, I'm earning, let's say under 193 there is interest, 194 dividend, right? Or 194C, D, all of these sections which are there, I'm earning the commission, but I may not have income more than my basic exemption limit. So even though it may cross 30,000 threshold, 1 lakh threshold, but I may not have the income chargeable to tax. So I can go to the assessing officer and make an application. that by giving my all the income details of the past year, current year, that this is, I don't have the income chargeable to tax. And if the AO is satisfied that the TDS should be deducted at a lesser rate or 0%, then he may issue the certificate to the payer that please do not deduct at the, let's say, rate of 1%, 2%, deduct, let's say, at 0.1%, or do not deduct, whatever he feels. It can be that I may have, marginal income tax that I may be paying. So he may work out a rate according to, my marginal income that I earn, marginal income tax that I pay in the last year. Basis that he can calculate the rate and give it to the payer that this is what you should be deducting the TDS instead of 1%, 2% given under 194C or 10% under 194J. Or you may say you don't deduct at all if I am not eligible to pay any income tax. So you can make an application if your TDS is deductible under any of these sections. 192, 193, 194A, C, D, G, H, I, J, K, L, A, L, B, A, all of these sections. O, Q. So basis that certificate, the payer will deduct at a lesser rate or 0%. And there will not be deduction in certain cases, which is where an individual who is a resident in India and whose total income is less than the basic exemption limit, and he gets some dividend or some out of the national savings scheme account. So he can get that sum without deduction of TDS under either 194 on the dividends or 194 EE on the sum paid out of NSC on furnishing a declaration to the person who is a payer that the tax on his total income will be nil. So in that case, there will not be any TDS. Or in case of the withdrawal from the PF under 192A or 193 or 194A, 194D, DA, commission, all of that, no deduction shall be made where a person who is other than a company or a firm, it can be AOP, BOI, individual HUF, furnishes to the payer of the respective income a declaration that the tax on his total income is nil. Then they will not be required to deduct the TDS. However, if the payment is of dividend or under National Savings Scheme or on PF withdrawal, interest on securities, interest other than interest on security, payment in respect of life insurance, insurance commission, rent, income from unit is more than the basic exemption limit, in those cases the declaration cannot be furnished. And in respect of a resident senior citizen who is more than 60 years, no TDS will be deducted under 192A, 193, 194, 194A, D, DA, EE, I or K. If again that resident senior citizen furnishes a declaration under 15H to the payer that the tax on his total income is less than basic exemption limit. So, the senior citizen goes to the bank that please do not deduct the TDS in respect of income on interest income on the FDs by furnishing this form 15H. Are we clear? So he can still furnish if his income is more than the basic exemption limit, but he is eligible to claim the rebate under 87A or deduction under chapter 6A, or if there is a set off under the house property, and after taking that his income becomes nil. Clear? Any question, any doubt?
मैम सीनियर सिटीजन है तो बेसिक एजम्पशन लिमिट से भी ज़्यादा है, लेकिन टोटल इनकम कंप्यूटेड करने के बाद में अगर टैक्स 0 आ रहा है तो फॉर्म 15H फिल कर सकते हैं। अगर सीनियर सिटीजन नहीं है तो इट शुड बी लेस देन बेसिक एजम्पशन लिमिट, इट शुड नॉट बी मोर देन बेसिक एजम्पशन।
यस
मैम फॉर्म 15G है क्या मैम, अदर देन सीनियर सिटीजन है तो?
15G, yes.
ओके।
Then they say there's another non-deduction of case on the interest payment by an offshore banking unit to a non-resident or RNOR on the deposits made by them or on borrowing made by them. Then again they say that the provision of 197A will be applicable, which is saying that tax is not to be deducted on interest paid by the IFSC banking unit on the deposits made by the non-resident or an RNOR or on borrowings made by them. Then no deduction shall be made from any payment to any person in respect of or for on behalf of the National Pension System Trust. Then they have notified certain other institutions where the TDS is not applicable. For example, payment made to a specified units located in IFSC. So if it IFSC unit is the payee and the income is in the nature of, 1 second, it got hanged. Yeah. Interest income on borrowings or loans, professional fees, referral fees, brokerage commission, commission income on factoring, or if it's an IFSC insurance intermediary office and it's an insurance commission, if it is an IFSC finance company and there is interest income, dividend income, or commission income, if it's an IFSC finance unit, again, it's the same nature of income, or if it's an IFSC fund management entity and there is a professional fee which is paid, then again, in that case, there will not be any TDS. Or broker or dealer having the dividend income, investment advisor, registered distributor, custodian, credit rating agencies, investment bankers, debenture trustee, this international trade finance service, fintech entity getting all these investment advisory fee, professional, commission, all these credit rating fee will not be subjected to TDS. Are we clear? So they have given this list of the payments which are made to them wherein it will not be subjected to the TDS limit. TDS requirement. Fine? Okay? Any questions, any doubt? Yes or no?
Clear, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, have to remember this list.
You don't have to remember. Just remember that in respect of unit of IFSC, there is no TDS because they have been claiming the deduction under ATLA. Okay? So, then last one point before we close the session. See, whenever the tax is deducted, let's say your income is 100, on which I am deducting tax at the rate of 10%. So what I will pay you is 90. Now, when you file your income tax return, what is the income that you will consider, 90 or 100?
100. 100.
100. Because 10 you will claim the credit of TDS. So all the TDS which is there will be deemed to be your income. Are we getting it? So any sum deducted as the income tax is first going to be considered as your income. It will be deemed to be the income received. However, the following tax paid would not be deemed to be income received, which is the tax paid by the employer on the non-monetary perquisites, which is exempt under 1010cc, and the tax deducted under 194N, because this is the TDS on cash withdrawal. And then you can claim the credit of the TDS in your income tax return. Are we clear? Which is appearing in your form 26AS or your AIS these days. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, there is a rule 37BA which provides that in case of the TDS is deducted in the hands of a person other than the deductee. Sorry, the income is assessable in the hands of person other than the deductee. Let's say TDS is deducted in my name. Let's say I am the property owner. We are joint owners. Now, the payer of the rent has deducted TDS in my name, but half of the rent also goes to my spouse. Then the credit will also be given to that other person. However, I should file a declaration with the deductor, and the deductor should report the tax deduction in the name of the other person also. And the credit will be given in the year in which the income is offered to tax. Where the income is to be distributed over the number of years, then credit will also be given over the period of years. So you can always carry forward the TDS credit. You can carry forward the TDS credit. Are we clear? Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So with this, we'll stop here for today and we will continue in the next class. Okay?
Ma'am,
Ma'am.
Yes?
मैम अभी आपने एक एग्जांपल दिया जो रेंट है अगर आपके स्पाउस पे भी होता है तो वो फॉर्म है जिसको आप खुद को भरना होता है या फिर गवर्नमेंट को भर के देते हैं कि उसके पैन पर कि वो इनकम उनके पैन पे एप्लीकेबल होगा
खुद को भर के deduct he has to give.
डायरेक्ट हैज टू गिव टू द
Deductor. Deductor.
डिडक्टर और डिडक्टर गवर्नमेंट को देगा
Yes.
ओके
और मैम जो 194N में और सैलरीज में टीडीएस वो सब कट होगा तो वो फिर कैसे मिलेगा रेसिपिएंट को? वो कैसे कट होगा?
Salaries पे
अभी आपने 194N वाला ऐड नहीं होगा
हाँ।
ऐसे बताया ना, तो फिर
हाँ।
वो कैसे? हाँ,
नहीं वो तो आप डायरेक्टली क्रेडिट क्लेम कर सकते हो, आपके इनकम में ऐड नहीं होगा बिकॉज दैट इज नॉट ऑन योर इनकम, दैट इज ऑन योर कैश विड्रॉवल. कैश विड्रॉवल इज नॉट माई इनकम.
ओके,
Are you getting that? Withdrawal is not my income, but I can still claim the credit.
ओके.
That is not a problem. Okay? Fine. So thank you so much, students. We meet in the next class. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच मैम.
Yes.
थैंक यू मैम
Thank you. Yes.